Hello again. Welcome to People Love Clapping, How Business Groups and Communities Grow. My name is Vik Rajan. I am also the co-founder of Videosocials, which is a business community of over 120 lawyers, accountants, consultants, and coaches who enable each other to improve their video blogging through our video blogging clubs. And then they use our automation software called Brander to post on LinkedIn and Facebook, YouTube, WordPress. And so you could actually watch this video show on LinkedIn Live, Fridays, 1 p.m. Eastern, as well as on Facebook, eventually on YouTube. You can listen to it through Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, and Stitcher, which is an Android app that I use to listen to podcasts. And just about weekly, I interview a different business group leader to learn how they started and how they are growing their business group or community. And truth be told, it's a way for me to learn from them and in a gentlemanly way, steal their ideas so that I can provide more value to our Videosocials members and hopefully even do more events with them. We regularly do Videosocials with other groups, networking groups, peer associations, etc. So I look forward to getting to know business leaders through this platform. And today I have another relatively long-time colleague. We've known each other for a couple of months, though we haven't really spoken in a couple of months. Frank, thank you for joining me on People Love Clapping.
I appreciate being here. I appreciate the candor. Podcasting, these sorts of things, it's all about building relationships. So people ask all the time, what's the value? And it's like, you have no idea the doors that open by talking with people.
Yeah, and I get to learn a thing or two from you.
Yeah.
And, you've been doing this, I think, a little longer than I have in terms of building a business group and a community, and ours are different. So I'm looking forward to you being able to promote yourself to our members and my whole circle of influence. Which, before I even ask you questions about AmSpirit, I'd love to hear, kind of growing up or even a young professional days, has there been any other group, doesn't have to be a business group per se, but any other community that made an impact on you? And did that help you in any way with growing what you're doing now?
I really can't say that there was. I mean, I was in a fraternity. I mean, I've always been outgoing, things like that. But, to be honest, and I'll certainly share my story in a minute. I was kind of the school of thought that you do well in school.
Sure.
You accumulate degrees, and then you write your ticket. And the whole notion of relationships never really dawned on me until, it's never too late.
Sure.
But I was probably in my early 30s before I realized that, wow, you know what? I should have spent less time in the library and more time in the bar. Put it that way.
It's a lesson for the kids.
Yeah.
What at least they're out of college at this point now. So what was that turning point? Like what was that aha moment to help you kind of even think about that?
Well, I mean, I guess just to kind of roll into my story, I live in Columbus, Ohio. I grew up in Michigan. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I came here in 1984 to go to law school.
Okay.
I went to the Ohio State University. I got a law degree. I got an MBA. I did well in undergrad. Law school was a little more of a struggle for me. Just, you have a lot of smart people. But at any rate, I really worked hard. Got a job in public accounting with one of the big 6 firms doing tax consulting. Great job, great pay, great clients, great office, great colleagues, great everything.
But I
mentioned the word taxes. So I didn't want to do taxes for the rest of my life. And so after about 6 years, I decided to leave. And I figured, my next best step would just be to go into private practice.
Sure.
I was always very entrepreneurial. I would go to my clients and really kind of be fascinated as to how they made money. And so I went into private practice. And I tell people that a funny thing happened when I went into private practice. And the funny thing was that nothing happened. I had no idea how to get clients. Again, my mindset is, did well. I've got a CPA now. I've got all these credentials. Just call me, right? Just call me.
Sure.
And it doesn't work that way.
Two shingles, you got the Esquire and CPA, so to speak. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't work that way. So I struggled. You hear stories of those bad actors at networking events.
Sure.
That was me, right? I'm out there just handing my card out, just figuring, hey, something's good.
Drive by networking, I call them. Like they just they hand out their business card like they're on a corner, here in Manhattan. Yeah.
And so I struggled, and then one day I had lunch with a friend of mine who took a different path out of law school. There was a saying in law school that A students become professors, B students become judges, and C students become millionaires.
Fair enough.
And there's a lot of truth.
Students work for the C students, so it's a
exactly. Because when you don't, and I don't know if she was a C student, but she started her own firm and she was doing well. Right. And I just said, what do I need to do to be successful like this? And she said, you need to get into a tips club or a leads group. And I really had no idea what she was talking about, but through a couple introductions, she connected me to a group that was here in town. It was based out of Pittsburgh. It was very similar to BNI, for those who are familiar with BNI.
Sure.
The founder of it was somehow connected to Ivan. I don't know the whole story. But I showed up at that first meeting and immediately it made sense. I can lift up my whole world by helping these other people. Vik, I could talk about you all day long and how great you are and all the wonderful things you're doing and go home and feel wonderful about myself. And if I self-promote for 5 minutes, I'm exhausted. It's hard.
Yeah.
And these groups are all about us helping one another. Right. And so once I realized that, it's like, oh, wow, this is easy. I can talk about the accountant, this person. I can help these people. So now going to networking events, it's not about doing business with me. Well, what are you looking for? Well, really struggling with insurance. I've got somebody to help you. So make a long story short, that was really kind of the launching point for me, the epiphany, if you will, sure, of its relationships. And at one point, I bought the company. I was just a member at a chapter and had an opportunity to be its first franchisee. And my particular territory ended up being about bigger than half the organization. So,
this is in the Ohio area.
Yeah. And so talked with the owner, and she was looking to kind of cash out a little bit. And so I took it and rebranded it as AmSpirit Business Connections. And that really changed my trajectory because I stopped practicing law. I wasn't practicing law at that point, and really started to work on growing the groups, adding more groups, putting the franchising piece in place for us. And writing books on networking, doing a lot of talking on networking, really becoming a student of it. I mean, every day I'm learning something new. I learn from you too, and the things that you're doing. And all these things just kind of piece together and create a successful life. So that's how it really good.
So help me with the timeline. So when was this? Like how long ago?
It was the early 2000s.
Okay.
So I've been involved in this organization since 1995.
Okay, that's a good long time.
Yeah, so you're 26 years.
Sure. By the way, I graduated high school that year. So.
Oh, well, good for you.
Dig in a little. Yeah. But fair enough. Good.
Yeah.
And then you stopped practicing law and bought what is now known as AmSpirit around when? 20 years ago, we said?
It was late 2003 that it happened.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's excellent. And it was already a franchise because you had owned one of the franchises at that time, right? Creating different groups.
But I had to kind of redo it because I had a separate entity.
Okay.
And that was the first piece. The second piece is how they were doing franchising was basically illegal. I mean, they just weren't. Okay. It's very regulated. It's very regulated.
From what I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were just like skirting all of that. And you learn. You don't know what you don't know, and then you start learning things, and it's like I'm going to do it the right way.
Right. Fair enough. You're an attorney as well, so that also helps to know that you should be doing it the right way.
Yeah. I mean, who wants to mess with the state of New York or California?
Right.
Or it's not worth it.
Right. Especially as you're like at that point of scale. This isn't just you and a couple of friends. Sure. Here's it's not a licensing. It's the real franchise. So you started cleaning things up 2003. Figure 2004. Now, how many franchises and how many chapters? Do you call them chapters, or what do you call each roundtables, so to speak?
We call them chapters. We have 80 some now, all total nationwide. There are 17 active franchisees in 8 different states.
So I was gonna I was gonna ask you. So you're in about 8 different states.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you rattle off some of the states that you're in?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, that's my goal, Vic, is to be at a point where I can't. Right.
Yeah. Well, there are only 50 so far. So.
Well, it'll be easy when it's 50. We're in all 50.
Yeah. Right. Fair enough.
But going east to west, we're in Massachusetts, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Arizona. Oh, I forgot Florida. Oh, you're counting for me? Yeah. Illinois, Wisconsin. I think that's it. And I talked. Yeah, I talk to lots of people every day. So
that's awesome. That's a lot of fun. So now, your job, so to speak, you're at, as kind of grandfather of it. So you're developing the franchise owners and helping them with their areas, helping them develop their chapters. And what's the structure like in a chapter level? Is there like a president of that chapter, or does that franchise owner become president? Like, how does that work?
No, every chapter has its own slate of officers who are members.
Right.
Our philosophy is we have about 10 or 11 members, or 10 or 11 officers, and really spread the work out. I really don't want anybody doing anything outside the chapter meeting, right? Let's try and get it all done in the meeting. Okay. They're all busy people. I don't want to detract from their day. Sometimes
how
they
long
have
are each
to.
Meeting? How long is each?
About 75 minutes. They're structured to go.
That's not so bad. Less than an hour and a half. Definitely. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, some other groups can be 2.5. Again, feel very uneasy.
We're busy.
Those kind of meetings. Yeah.
Well, Vic, that's the biggest investment is people's time, right? So you want to take advantage, make good use of that time for them.
Sure. Right. Maximize it. That's tremendous. I'd love to learn a little bit more about the meeting structure, but I'd love to hear also before then, talk to us about the kind of members who gets attracted to join, who's the right type of people. First of all, to own a franchise, because I know that becomes your focus. Who's the right kind of person to open a franchise? And then in terms of members, who are the right kind of members that you find the most successful, and who are the kind of people that maybe this isn't the right or best fit for? Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, I guess first to talk about the members. The members who do well in this are people, I call them bottom line oriented. They eat what they catch. I don't need the
sales
banker.
Professionals in one way or another, even if they have letters after their name, they gotta eat what they catch.
Right. I don't need the banker who gets paid $50,000 to show up and open up the bank. I need the banker who gets paid 20, and he needs to earn the rest and looking to make 100. That's what I need.
To open up accounts, so to speak, or lend money.
Yeah. But beyond that, you need people who are really relationship oriented with their clients. You got your attorneys, your accountants, you got your financial advisors, your mortgage lenders, your realtors, property casualty. Those are some of them. And I tell people who are looking to get groups going, when I talk about this, I say, as an example, when I was an attorney, there weren't a lot of questions I couldn't ask my clients. Do you have life insurance? I need to know. We're going to be doing some estate planning. I don't want to screw something up.
Right.
Now, if you're the chiropractor, you're not going to be asking people about their life insurance.
Right. You need those trusted advisors who have those, lack of a better word, intimate conversations, because they're the hub for all these other spokes.
Yep. And that's really the foundation. And then it kind of grows up from there with, the assigned person. We do have chiropractors. There's nothing wrong with them, but they're not really the foundation of a group.
Sure.
So that's the member, that's really kind of the membership. The franchise piece of it is unique in, it's really geared for somebody to add on to what they're already doing. All my franchisees do something else. For a couple hours in the morning, a few days a week, they're working the AmSpirit franchise. The rest of the time, they're realtors, they're web designers, merchant service consultants, travel agents, coaches and consultants of various kinds.
So now, there's not many networking group franchises, right? I mean, there's a handful, but it's not like, signage or, some other,
Yeah.
fast food or something where there's like dozens. I don't know if there are dozens even, right, in the network. And you definitely know it more than I do because I don't know it that much at all. But is that unique to AmSpirit where other systems, they're very much full-time building a franchise, or is that very common in kind of your industry, so to speak, of franchising the world of professionally managed networking groups?
Um,
Do you know?
Most of the groups that I know of, most of the organizations out there aren't a franchise model. There
First of
are
all,
some, yeah,
right.
there are some. BNI is buying back many of its franchises.
I see. Okay.
They're going to a kind of a corporate owned model.
Mm.
That I don't know that as a fact, but that just seems that
You're seeing that
yeah,
anecdotally. Okay.
I'm seeing that. And to me, it just kind of makes sense because what I love about what we've put together is our franchisees will walk into a chapter and can be shoulder to shoulder with somebody and say, yeah, I know what you're going through. I got a business too.
Right.
And we don't raise dues often. We only do it once every 4 years. And when we do, all the franchisees, we all sit around on Zoom and have a conversation. And they're part of that conversation, and they have intimate knowledge of what other people are going through and can chime in and say, you know what, we need to be careful on this. And in fact, when COVID hit, there were a couple franchisees who came forth and said, you know what, why don't we just waive dues for 6 months? And other people said, listen, that's not what people need. People need help. They don't need, they're not looking for a few dollars. They need big dollars, and we need to help them there. But it was just very interesting to see that, people, they're really kind of in touch with what's going on with the membership because they really are members.
Sure. Right. So they're part of it. I could see that. And so if they've got their primary business, to put it that way. I don't know if that's the right word, where let's say they're a consultant or an attorney, and now they're adding this to their repertoire, so to speak. I guess a good question, I'm sure you're asked all the time, what's their benefit? Like, what infrastructure are you providing? What systems and support you're providing? Because I'm sure you see it all the time. People are like, hey, I'm going to grab 20 of my colleagues, meet at a diner. I got myself a networking group. What do I need to charge money, B, have a structure, let alone, I'm sure there are fees involved of paying AmSpirit, corporate, the mothership. What do you say to say, all right, no, yes, you could do it on your own and, figure it out. What is the wheel that you've already learned how to create that enables people to be that much more efficient and effective, especially that this isn't their primary business. This is an add-on. Like, what's that value that AmSpirit adds?
Well, the people pay dues to belong to this.
Right.
And the franchisees keep the lion's share of that. So they're making a significant revenue doing that. They also get referrals out of it. I just had a conversation the other day. One of my franchisees is a web designer, and he tells me, he says, Frank, I get a lot of business. I get a lot of business from all these groups, and some of them have web designers because he's around and he's the one who's kind of helping them. But I do get that question all the time. Why can't I do this on my own? And my response is always, you can. There's nothing to stop you from doing it. You can sell your own house. You can do your own taxes. You can invest your own money. But statistics show that people who work with a professional are much better off. Sure. And we like to feel the same way. Last year, it was funny. It was 2 years ago now. I got a 25th wedding anniversary card. I'm like, how does this guy know it's my anniversary? I mean, it was literally my 25th anniversary. And so then I read the card, and it wasn't a card for my wedding anniversary. He was sending me an anniversary card because he had been in the organization 25 years.
Wow.
And he was making fun of it. And he says, I'll be better in my next 25 years. But he's not the oldest person in the chapter. He hasn't been in the chapter the longest. There's probably 10 other people who've been in here longer. So it works. These groups work. And
what do you feel? I think that's a great segue, because I love to also learn like what's happening in those 75 minutes of like the meeting agenda. What do you feel works so well that someone is a member for over 2 decades? Like, what is that? It's hard to unravel the magic, and you may not even know it or want to share it. But how is that agenda structured of the interaction between members that happens within the meeting, and how is it governed outside the meeting?
Well, I think it all comes down to referrals.
Okay.
Everything, when chapters are struggling, the first thing I want to try and fix, the first thing I coach franchisees on is you got to go in and help the people get referrals. Because in all honesty, Vic, if you knew you were going to get a couple great referrals every couple of weeks attending a meeting, you would go to the meeting at 3 a.m. in the back of a truck in some seedy alley to go get your referrals. It's really about, it's about the business. So we really spend a lot of time trying to get people to understand the referral process. And I know a lot of people like roll their eyes at that. Oh yeah, what's the big deal? It's like, you know what, you would be surprised at the number of people who shoot themselves in the foot just through their messaging. So the financial advisor might say, a good referral for me is somebody who's having problems with RMDs. Well, we don't know what an RMD is. And the beautiful thing about people is that they're really nice. And the horrible thing about people is they're really nice. And nobody will say,
no one's going to call them out on it. Like, wow, everyone's eyes glaze over, but no one wants to call them out on what's an RMD.
Right. Maybe I'm the only one who doesn't know, so I don't want to look stupid.
Yeah, right. That too.
And so that person will give message after message after message, and nobody understand, and then leave after a year and say that didn't work.
This doesn't work, right?
Yeah. So we're big fans of just not embarrassing anybody, but sitting them down and saying, "Hey, let's fix this," because feedback, there are referrals.
It's essential, right? I mean, we do it all the time at Video Socials. It's kind of part and parcel to our process. So talk to us about the 75 minutes. Like, it opens up. Is there like a ritualistic opening ceremony type thing, or how does it work?
I mean, we have a charter that we read. I mean, all that stuff takes like a minute to go through. But people then we go around the room and people introduce themselves.
Yep.
Some of the groups will start with kind of an icebreaker every, just in 30 seconds. What's your favorite Halloween costume? Around the holidays, or what's, tell us about your pet peeve or whatever. And people have some fun. It's about getting to know one another. It's really about the relationships, right?
Yeah.
You ask what the secret sauce is. It's really about the relationships, because when you have relationships, business will follow, assuming they understand what you need.
And a lot of times, what I've seen, I've been kind of noticing a pattern that a lot of times governing the icebreakers or the people getting to know one another, there has to be some framework, or else people, it's like junior high school dance, they don't know what to do with each other. So you kind of have to help them through that process. That's why I ask, very often I just call them repeatables, because rituals can sound a little awkward and odd to talk about it. But are there other things that you guys tend to repeat and do, and that it's a hallmark of your community, where you guys read a charter to kind of know that this is a code that you guys all abide by? Are there other things that, jargon, phrases, things that are kind of inside jokes, so to speak, or can you share any examples like that people know that you're part of the AmSpirit community?
Yeah, no, in fact, a lot of our groups are going back to regular meetings.
In-person meetings?
In person, we have some that are going to stay virtual just because they were formed during COVID, and geographically they're spread out over a couple counties, and so it just makes sense. And I say that because if somebody would like to chime in and go visit one of these groups, we're totally open to that. We love to have guests.
I was going to ask you at the end, but is there a web address? Is there something that people can?
I can. Well, there is you go to the AmSpirit website and you can look and you can see all the chapters.
So is it amspirit.com? AmSpirit.com.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely talk about that at the end. But so you were saying, so it's some of the repeatables that you hear members saying that you've either sometimes, like at Video Social, we're so young that we've architected certain things. Like, this is how we open our meeting. This is how we close our meeting. They repeat taglines almost on their own, which is kind of cool to see that, all right, they're memorable. What happens in your world? Like, what kind of things do members say or do?
Well, we start and everyone introduces themselves, the guests introduce themselves, and then these groups don't run themselves, so we have officers, and there are officer reports, and they talk about the various things that are happening. The big one is who's giving and getting referrals, and chapters put together a performance report at least monthly that kind of goes through, and we really want to get at two things. One, most importantly, who's not getting referrals. we're all caught up in our own worlds, and we don't know what might be going on with Miss Realtor over here.
Right.
And when it's in black and white that she's not getting referrals, we need to stop. The other thing we want to look at is who's not giving referrals, because oftentimes I find is that when somebody's not giving referrals, it's not that they're trying to game the system. They just don't know how. And so a little bit of coaching can really help them and help the whole group. So we want to kind of keep an eye on those things as part of those officer reports. And then members take turns giving presentations. Every week, somebody's doing a presentation on their business, how we can recognize referrals for them. And then you sort of get into the end of the meeting where we're recognizing new members, any announcements. One of the things we talk about in our groups, we call them qualified referrals. When you're given the name of somebody to contact, they'll be expecting the call. So it's not, hey, Vic, call this person. Don't tell them I told you to call. We're going to put you in the right place at the right time.
Right.
It doesn't guarantee the business, but it's somebody who's truly interested in whatever, insurance, real estate.
Right.
Yeah.
It's receptive.
So we basically mentioned that. And then at the end of the meeting, we pass around it's a bucket that referrals go into. And when you have the bucket, you stand and give a 30-second commercial. And we're trying to coach people on talk about when you do things. Don't talk about what you do. I know you're a realtor. Tell me when you really help people.
So it becomes a story driven by nature when it's when, not what.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a phrase that you guys say a lot? When, not what? Is that a repeatable that
I certainly do. I don't know if other people do, but I hammer on it all the time because
Okay, good.
And
how do you guys grow? I mean, do you encourage members to invite guests, or do you handle, or does like corporate kind of bring? What is that process?
The members do 100% of it. Well, actually, they do 98% of it. We do have people out who inquire from the outside. The reality is if you need an accountant in your group, you want to get the person you want to get. And it's really in their best interest to grow it because they're going to get the people they want to have, and they're going to, if there's 80 groups, I can't focus on, I can barely count to 8, right? 80 is just, so it's got to be on them. And we coach them how to do it. And we have videos that they can see and give them insight as to how to invite people. But again, we're big fans of just bring people to the meeting. We have lots of stories where people who have showed up at the meeting, they might be a spouse or a significant other or just a friend of a member just to come in to see what it's about, with really no business being in the chapter. They may have a corporate job or whatever,
right?
But giving a significant referral. I get what you're doing. I have a friend who's got a business and they could really use you. Right. So we just, we welcome pretty much anybody into the group.
Do you see some being a better fit than others? Or you mentioned some of the professions and some of that psychography, so to speak, of like knowing that they're a giving spirit. Have you noticed a pattern where it's like, or is it so unpredictable?
It's pretty unpredictable. Yeah. I mean, I've had great mortgage lenders and I've had dopey mortgage lenders and insert attorney or whatever. And it's,
Right. Any profession is like that.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, I'd love to hear what's the timetable. So it sounds like you have weekly meetings on a chapter level.
Yep.
Do you have other events in addition to the weekly chapter meetings, and what's that calendar like?
Yeah, we have a whole system of what we call area-wide events, and chapters. Chapters have they have a benchmark that they need to meet, having people attend those things, because we want to create a sense of community across the whole organization.
Yeah.
I want people in Chicago to feel like they're connected to people in South Carolina. And
has that been easier, kind of being so? Because of COVID, with being on Zoom, as I'm going to presume, has that, has it been kind of at least one good thing to come out of this thing?
Yeah, everyone has that tool in their toolbox that they use for one thing, and then you realize you can use it for something else. That was Zoom. I had Zoom. I used it for interviewing on my podcast, and that was it.
Right.
and then
Right.
you open up the door or the possibilities to what you can do with it. So we have probably 2 or 3 meetings happening each month that are totally virtual that people can come into,
Yeah.
members and guests, and kind of see what's going on. We have a calendar on our website and with all the links. We're a pretty open organization.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And what's the vision? What's 2021, 2022? Like, where do you see AmSpirit growing? Like, where's the focus? To some extent, I can imagine new franchises, or is it new chapters for your franchise owners? Like, what's that process like of where you take the timetable?
It's a little of both. The franchisees really work on the chapter and member level, trying to get those going. I'm really focused on the franchising level. I've talked to a lot of people in Florida this year. We have a Florida franchisee now. But, to be honest, Vic, when I first started this, I figured, okay, Columbus, then Cleveland and Cincinnati, concentric rings and work out. Well, my first one was in Cleveland, so here it's all working. And then the next one was in Arizona. So it's just, I go where the interest is.
Sure.
It's
that's cool.
And there's nothing you can do to control it. Talk to a guy from Utah,
Yeah.
out of the blue. So.
And I know it is AmSpirit. Do you have any global domination plans?
I don't at this point. I think the name might be a little bit of a problem. Although I've talked to people, I've talked to people in India who have groups, and we have a very robust website behind the scenes that keeps track of referrals and things like that. And when they see it, they're like, "Oh, geez," And so maybe there's something where in the States it's AmSpirit, and in Canada it's got a different name. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, American Idol, was able to come from the UK, so that they changed their name for every. So they can do it. You can do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, that's good. It's good to hear the timetable of how you guys are growing. I mean, it's phenomenal growth already. Thank you for giving me a little bit of insight and helping me kind of understand what I could do with video socials.
Well, you're welcome. I appreciate the time.
I always like ending with, is there another business group leader that may or may not be a member, or you may or may not be a member of their business group, but is there another business group leader that you admire, someone that that you like what he's doing, you like what she's doing, and someone that you can promote at the end of this podcast?
Yeah. There's a guy down in Florida. Do you know Brian Daly? Have you ever heard of Brian Daly?
I don't know, bro. I don't think I do.
He's a financial advisor, and he's putting together a bunch of their free groups.
Maybe I do know Brian. I have to double check.
Yeah, but he's very passionate about putting things together. Clayton Hicks, do you know Clayton?
No, I don't think so.
He's got a group called H7 out of Cincinnati. It's similar to AmSpirit, except it's not category exclusive. So I mean, there are a lot of groups that are out there, somewhat competing, but you know what? There's so much business out there. I don't really worry about it.
You seem to have a very big pie sort of spirit, so to speak.
Yeah.
For you to kind of mention them on the record and throw a good highlight on them is very kind of you, but very open of you. So I like hearing that.
You know what? It's the toughest insurance policy that was ever sold was the first one, right? Think about it. If my barn burns down, you're going to redo it. I just have to pay you $5 a year. Really?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And I think these groups are kind of in the early stages where, I talk to people all the time, been in business 20 years and never heard of these groups. So I just think there's a lot going on, a lot of potential out there, especially post-COVID as we roll out, because I think there's a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people who've said, you know what, I lost my job on the front end of this. I was doing very well. And through no fault of my own, totally out of my control, I lost my job. That will not happen again.
Right.
I'm going to do my own business. So I think we're poised to do really well going forward, because I think a lot of people are, businesses are hurting trying to find to hire people. It has nothing to do with unemployment. It has to do with people are really taking control of their lives, and kudos to them.
Kudos to them, and kudos to you also, because there's that part of yearning to do something on their own, but then there's the yearning of not only to do something by themselves or for themselves, but not necessarily by themselves, I guess would be the phrase, right?
Yeah.
That we yearn also to belong to something bigger, especially for those of us in smaller businesses, where we become each other's co-workers, especially if we're kind of lonely at the top, so to speak. So
Yeah.
finding that community and that spirit is powerful. I mean, you do it in one way, Video Socials does it in a different way, but it's nonetheless people coming together. And I like watching how business groups operate and communities grow, especially where everyone has a self-interest motivated, but nonetheless have to be and want to be other centric as well. So I appreciate your time, Frank. This is tremendous.
I appreciate you. So happy to help you if I can.
Likewise, looking forward to chatting after this. Till next time, to all of our listeners and our viewers, you can catch People Love Clapping, How Business Groups and Communities Grow, just about every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, LinkedIn and Facebook. Likewise, you can follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch prior episodes. Catch us, you can search us for People Love Clapping on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and Stitcher. And I look forward to getting to know you as a business group leader as well. Thanks again. My name is Vik. I'm the co-founder of Video Socials. I'll talk to you soon.